So I'm here with my friend and mentor, Troy Bishop, today. We're going to discuss the top questions that Troy the Grass Whisperer gets as a conservation professional, and which is kind of like the misunderstanding of what he does. So we're going to have the rest of this video detail kind of what your initial conversation would be if you are entering in a new piece of property and want to develop it, if you are stuck as a farmer and you want to grow your operation, if you want to use conservation and land management to help grow your business. We're going to get into that in today's video. But first, the top 4 questions that Troy gets asked on a regular basis. Oh my, here we go. Hey Troy, I bought this land, but I don't know what to do with it. Hey Troy, I read somewhere that you can make money raising livestock.
Really?
I just got all these cows, and I need some of that free fence money.
Oh.
I heard you have money, and I can have some.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. So you can see a lot of the questions are framed around getting money from the government. It's a publicly funded service. In this video, we're going to jump into what services they provide, how that can help you, and what that conversation, that initial conversation is like when you meet with your ag service provider. So Troy,
So you're coming through the door.
I'm coming through the door, and in 2022 it might be the Zoom door where
Sure.
I reached out, and we have a virtual door. It might be at your company, your office, the cubicle, et al.
Yeah.
If I wanted to get the most out of this situation, if the question of how do I start a farm is too vague, you haven't tried nothing. If you walk in the door with nothing, you can expect to get that much out. What would I walk in the door with to talk with you to get the most out of leveraging your 4 decades of experience in order to further my farm mission and my dream of growing my own food or whatever the case may be?
So most all of us will ask, so what are your goals?
Goals. Oh, the
G question.
The goals.
The goals.
I want to know how many chickens I can raise, Troy. I don't want to know about this hippie philosophical stuff.
And that's perfectly fine to ask, but we would sort of get a context of what you're trying to do with your farm.
Okay.
So a social kind of goal, family goals, some environmental goals,
yeah,
and some financial goals. So we know kind of where to go with this conversation.
Are you saying that if I don't have a target to aim at, I'm never going to hit that target?
Well, it'll be a little harder if you don't have something to help you along
help direct
trajectory.
Our actions.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a fair question. Everyone's going to ask for some goals.
Okay.
And you should be prepared to have a few.
Okay. So I heard Troy just mention 3 types of goals. We have social, environmental, and political. And
Not political.
Financial.
Dude.
I mean, there's a lot of finance and politics. I'm nervous on camera, and I'm with my friend. Anyways, so we have social, environmental, and financial. I'm not.
Those are some of the goals.
I'm not good with money. So social goals. We're gonna go right with John Soskovich, who is the owner and operator of Kent Falls Brewing Company. I have a 52-acre farm brewery in Western Connecticut. I'm far enough down the line. And I'm a decade into it, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. So, social goal. Social is family. That's people. That's your community, right?
Yeah.
I want to be accessible to my family at all times. I have at least breakfast and dinner with Kate and my girls every day, so that's important to me. Mm-hmm. I want to have an environment that people feel welcome and are supported by and would like to support on my farm, so it's got to be inviting. I have guests. Yeah. We have a tasting room, and I want to use the draw of beer to then turn around and educate people about agriculture, beer's impact on agriculture, as well as my own farmstead. So those would be my social goals.
Okay, those are good.
The environment, I would like to save the world.
Okay,
and
that's a little broad.
It's a little broad.
How about bringing it down to your farm scale?
I know that I can have a positive effect on reversing man-made climate change by sequestering carbon from the atmosphere into the soil through managed grazing.
Okay, that's pretty broad.
Still broad. I went down to managed grazing.
Well, I'm going down I want water quality.
Yeah.
Is important for my neighbors, for fishing.
Okay.
Right? I maintain good sod so I have no topsoil leaving, or I'm able to infiltrate some water from a big rain event.
Yeah.
And that helps my watershed because you're up here at the top.
Yeah. And I'm down at the bottom.
Oh, you are? I thought
yeah,
you were at the top.
Well, we'll look at the map soon.
Okay.
I'm in a valley. Glaciers came through and took all my topsoil and gave it to southern Connecticut. I'm in a valley, but all my water comes down to me. So my farm is a water filtration system. And that sounds more specific than just saving the world.
Correct.
Making some clean water that comes off my farm. If it comes onto my farm, it leaves clean.
Yep.
And then I want to grow grass and grow animals that eat grass that will sequester and use carbon, feed the soil, and focus on soil nutrition and health and wellness. And I want healthy soil.
Yeah. You don't have to define it like, oh, if I don't have these specific. It's good to just have some goals so we can start working towards your farm plan.
Okay. All right. So then financial. For me personally, and this is going to be different for everybody, I don't need to derive the entirety of my farm income off of the farm. I own and operate a brewery. That's been the more of the financial driver, but it's not completely a hobby. The farm has to pay for itself and some of my labor, but that doesn't mean some of my labor doesn't mean 40 to 60 hours a week. Full-time all year. I need it to pay for when I'm working on the farm, my labor needs to be covered. And then when I'm working on the brewery, my labor is covered by brewery work. That's not your problem. My farm goals are that I don't want to waste money with my efforts in agriculture.
So part of that financial goal is if you are to save the world and do these things, are you going to generate enough money to build some infrastructure, to add water, to make enough money to do certain things. Yeah. And financial part is really big. We don't really talk about it that much in conservation. Okay. Because we're more environmentally focused. But for me, that financial part, I want to make this much money. I want to put food in the freezer. I want to have some food to sell to my customers that are drinking beer. Yeah. I want to make sure that they're happy walking the trail, maybe because it's beautiful. And I need some money to build some infrastructure, water pipe, fencing, those types of things. So just a general financial feeling will, again, guide us. Why would we plan out a big thing that you can't afford?
That's fair, because if we spend all this time planning the dream scenario that you have no money for, you'll never realize your goals.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a hindrance. So just defining a few things. It's not doesn't have to be heavy. Yeah. Just it helps us initially. You remember, we've met. This is it. This is our relationship. We just met. And so we're just trying to lay a little bit of groundwork as you're coming to the office. We want to be acquainted. Yeah. And that that can be. I can start saying, what are your goals? You want to have a conversation and the goals kind of come up. Okay. And we're basically trying to frame where you think you want to head. And that helps us when we're doing work for you, with you.
Yeah. So we have something to aim at, and it's just not arbitrarily making the farm better. Because how do you define better? Better is for what works with you, what works for you, your community, the environment, and at the end of the day, your pocketbook, because you need to wake up and be able to afford the things that you're doing on a regular basis.
Without goals, you don't have a path.
So it seems like a really straightforward part, but is that something that's often overlooked or missed? Overlooked
because I want a specific thing. Yeah. And that's great. You know what you want, but I have to kind of back out and say, well, what are some other things in this holistic framework?
So for me, I've spent a lot of time thinking about my own farm and all the little details, and I get excited and fixated on one little thing, and then I want to take that one little thing and be like, Troy, solve this problem. And for Troy, we just met. He's my service provider. He doesn't know all the backstory, and we have to lay some groundwork. So when you walk in, so you're saying don't expect to walk in and come out with a check for free fence.
Correct.
You're walking in and saying, I have some problems. I have some goals that I want to accomplish. You're a knowledgeable person, and if you can't solve it yourself, you've got a network of people that can help.
So the good news is this is your first video of this process, and we're going to be going through sort of that steps of when you walk in the office, we form a relationship.
Yeah.
Then we're going to start working towards phase 1 and phase 2 of, so I just walked into the government office for help. And you've heard, I'm here to help. Well, I can only help if I know goals and some of the parameters that we have to work with together.
So we've heard some of my goals. Now we're going to stop this video. We're going to wrap it up. And in the next video, we're going to look at some of my resource base. Once Troy knows what I want to accomplish, we're going to look at some of the things that I have in order to help me assess it and make a plan to achieve those goals. And we're going to do that here on our big screen and not just have a logo and all this stuff as my kids run around upstairs. So I think that's the end of our video for now.
Okay.
I'm John Siskovich. This is Troy Bishop, the Grass Whisperer.
Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District.
See, I brought in the pros, the big guns today.
We could just say SWCD. That'll work.
SWCD. Until next time, we will see you out in the field. Yeah. Yeah. Lighten up, Troy. And then we pause and do an intro. Hold on, let me check my hair.
I feel like, like we need some bromance.